Hi everyone, I'm going to do tonight's video now, and I know some people are waiting for the no stop loss video. I am going to do that later as well. I haven't forgotten about it, but the first video I want to do is about this kind of tricky little period at the start of this week in GU, and I know it's kind of really tough when these happen and people are sort of not some people are a bit concerned about trading in the chop, and particularly using the reverse trade, okay, because when the market's moving nicely, the reverse trade works really nicely, okay, and it generates more profit. But if you're doing the high-low trade and the reverse trade, you're essentially increasing your risk. For every trade you take, your potential risk is greater, but so is your potential rewards. So in the good times you make more, but in this when it's kind of choppy and not moving like this, then you lose more, you give more back. So just as an example, just to go through the start of this week with GU, this was your first entry long here, and then we had a hedge here, okay, and your first long got stopped out, and your short still survived, okay, and then let's say we took profit on that short down here, which I probably wouldn't have done because it's only just covering that hedge, but let's say you did, and then the next day you went short here, then the reverse trade, the short stopped out, then your reverse trade stopped out, and then you had the same scenario here, a long from the low and a reverse trade that both stopped out. So that was 4 losers in one day there. Okay, that's always going to feel painful no matter what. If you have 4 losers straight, it hurts. You have 4 in the same day, it's gonna crush your confidence, without doubt. But it does happen, you know. Here's the open of the day, here's the close. So you had a range of about 20 pips between the open and close that day, and not much more in the high and low. So, you know, those days are going to happen. If you trade the reverse trade, then you're going to take a chunk of losers, you know. Then today, GU was a bit nicer. We had a long from the low and a short from the high, with the long stopping out if you held it, and you know, potential for a decent win on GU, and another long trade here. Okay, so you know, that was a scenario if you trade the reverse trade and the high low. Okay, a few people have sort of wondered whether just trading the high low is better, and it certainly is in choppy zones. There's pros and cons to both, but if you were just trading the high low, then obviously your first trade would have been the same, and so would have your second. Okay, but then your long would have stopped out, and if you're just trading the high low, you should be looking to exit a high trade when a low trade sets up. Okay, now that doesn't through the next day, but you are going to have to sit there through this period watching your profit edge closer towards your profit. Okay, then you have a long setup here, okay, which then stopped out, and then you would have had another long here, so the hedge is back into place. So far you've only had 2 losses, okay, and then today, after this made a high, you might have decided to exit on your long, or you could have kept the hedge in place, or you could have even stacked with 2 high trades, okay, and the 1 long trade, and then price breakdown. This would have stopped out if you were holding it, and you know, you could have closed 1 short and added a long here, and you could have kept this one open, okay, or you could have closed both and you know, covered your 3 losses with a little bit of profit there as well. So, you know, as you can see, just trading the high low through this tricky period has is slightly easier. Obviously, it's still going to have you're going to have to be better at holding your positions, okay? And you know, as always, I say, don't base decisions on like just 1 or 2 days. You know, at least do something through a week and back test it for, you know, a much greater period than that before you make any changes to how you're trading. So, you know, that's it. You know, there is the option of dropping the reverse trade, but you know, there are pros and cons to that. I'm going to do the stop loss video next, and I will post that up later on this evening.